All right, guys, let's get started. My name is Yash, and I've had the privilege of meeting you guys already, some of you during the breaks, but basically over the next hour, I want to take you guys through content and personal branding. As the day has gone on, a lot of you have been talking about content. Liam and Rudy have also covered the importance of building your own brand, especially as an agency owner, and kind of the leverage it can have for you and your businesses and the kind of opportunity that it can really give on top of all the stuff you're already doing. Like, you're all highly skilled people and are running successful businesses. So going into 2026, it's almost like, why wouldn't you want to be posting content about, your knowledge, how you operate, and the things you want to do in your life? And you're really going to see how that can kind of bring benefits going forward. So kind of what I want to cover today is I want to deep dive into content production, as speaking to Liam, also jumping on a call with them, kind of the nitty gritty of like actually using a camera and producing content, because it's very easy to get an editor, but it's not that easy to have a videographer following you around all the time. So if you can produce high quality content and give it to your editor, you're in a much better spot to have high-end content for your personal brand. So that's kind of what I want to start off with. And then how you can really stand out in a saturated, like everyone is making content these days. There's so much competition. The chances are someone else is running an agency very similar to you. So how is your content really going to stand out and make an impact on someone and make them want to choose your service over someone else's? And then what are some content systems you can implement for consistency and growth? And then the actual kind of positioning and strategy of your brand. So yeah, let's get started. So pretty much I'm a creative director, and I have been for the last 6 to 7 years. I've done all things content. I've been a videographer, photographer. I've been an editor. I've done freelancing. I've worked for media agencies. I've been a part of multiple e-com startups as the creative director, shot numerous amount of campaigns, created thousands of ad creatives. So I kind of have a pretty broad understanding of how content works, but it was only this year that I decided to really focus on my own brand and kind of went on my own journey. And it's been about 6 months now since I started that journey, and we've grown, like, on socials, 40,000 on Instagram, 30,000 on TikTok in like 3 to 4 months. And that's kind of what got me really interested in this online space, because I was like, if I can do this for myself, I can help a lot of people in this space. And that's kind of where my offer lies at the moment. I'm doing a lot of consulting and a bit of done for you as well for entrepreneurs. And yeah, it's been a crazy journey so far, and we're just getting started. And yeah, this is just to go show you guys how. So I started in May posting for myself, and eventually launched an offer to monetize. I still haven't run any paid ads. I don't have an appointment set or anything. And in October, we did 50,000 in revenue and 30K cash, all organic, of just people coming to me through my Instagram. So it kind of like now puts me in a position to really build off this. And that's kind of, if that can happen on an organic kind of way, that combined with what Liam was speaking about before, how there's two kinds of people. I'm definitely on the creative side. So I'm someone who doesn't necessarily, or hasn't necessarily gone into the systems and the paid ads and everything, but it is something I'm doing as we speak. And it's kind of shows that if you have the organic systems and organic side of your personal brand dialed, and you have the agency side dialed with your paid ad strategy, it can really like just blow up your kind of like lead gen, but also your revenue that you're doing. And the way I see it is like your personal brand in today's world is your ID. Like the first thing that someone is going to look up when they hear about you or your agency is most likely your Instagram. And they're going to suss you out if it's not your LinkedIn. And if it's presented in a way that's appealing and makes them attracted towards you, you're definitely going to have so much more leverage when it comes to them deciding between wanting to use your service and someone else's. And it all comes down to marketability and how marketable you are as a person. So yeah, like I touched on just then, content is how people see you, trust you, and decide if you're worth paying attention to. It's what conveys your message and your view to the world. Good content will get you views, and exceptional content will separate you from the crowd. Now, this is everything I'm telling you guys today. If it's coming from a personal branding perspective, yes, but I apply the same principles to paid ads, if it's B2B, if it's B2C. The differences are very minor. The way you should look at it and approach it as a whole doesn't change too much. Like I said, the real problem isn't skill, it's visibility. You guys are all very skilled people, and you're doing great things, you have great offers, you have great services. If there's anything lacking, most of the time it's visibility, and that's what content solves. So, bit of practical knowledge. The first thing that I like to start with, leave content aside. What does your brand actually look like if someone was to look you up right now? Whether that be your agency page or your personal brand, what do they feel when they first look up get your presence? Every single micro interaction someone has with your brand is creating their perception of you. Subconsciously or not, it's essentially when someone looks you up, that first interaction they have when they see your feed or the type of videos you're putting out, it's going to register something in their brain. And you want that to have as much impact as it can. And that's the whole goal. So ask yourself, how is your brand currently perceived? That's the number one thing to ask yourself when you go back home today. Just have a think about what it is that you perceive of the content that you're putting out, the ads that you're putting out, and maybe ask your 3-4 closest mates, what do they perceive of the stuff that you're putting out? And there are 6 things I want all of you to check and update after today. The first one's the best one. Do a photo shoot. Have professional photos. I know these are studio photos, which my friend Rudy over here took, but you don't need to have professional studio photos. Just have clear images that you can portray on your social channels, on your LinkedIns, your Instagrams, so people can actually, it automatically signals authority when you have a good profile picture across your social channels. So that's the first thing. And update your channels. Keep them consistent as well. Don't have different profile pictures on different platforms. Keep them consistent across the board. Next is brand colors. So an easy rule for choosing your color palette is you want a dark, a light, a feature, and a white always. 4 colors is the best way to go. If you're struggling or you feel like it's too random to choose, this is a website I like to use a lot, colors.co, where you can kind of put in the mood or the vibe that you're going for, and it's going to give you 4 colors that you can implement on your brand assets, your ads, your color grade for your videos, your presets for your photos, and you'll realize that when you put out, you might not notice a difference in 10 posts, in 20 posts, but when you get to 50 posts and 60 posts, you'll look at your feed and you'll be like, I can see that color palette. And that's kind of what you want to go for with your aesthetic. Next is your fonts. So I like to pick 3 fonts. Your primary font is going to be the main thing that you use all the time. It's going to be on all your assets. It's going to be on your subtitles, your captions, and all those things. Then you have your secondary font. So this is the font that you use for headings and just to point out specific keywords. And then the third font is really optional. I call it a specialty font, and it's just, those really specific, unique ones that just add a little bit of visual element to the kind of assets you're creating. So be consistent with the fonts that you use across your assets, because this is important to consistency. And if you want your brand to stand out and not look like everybody else, buy a font. Don't use one that's free, because chances are everyone's using it. So that's just a tip. And lastly, update your bio and update your links. If someone goes to your social, they should know exactly what it is you do. They should know what it is you sell, and they should be able to access your offers or something that kind of puts them in a position to message you or contact you, and update your links so everything is kind of optimized for whatever goal you have for your business. So this is kind of the foundations. This is where I would recommend you guys have dialed in before you even start thinking about content and posting. All right, let's talk cameras, my favorite part. Super favorite part. As you can see, I have like 5 cameras recording right now. Probably only going to use one of these, but I'm obsessed. So the camera you choose actually plays a role in the style of brand you're building. Believe it or not, cameras are important, but lenses, lights, and microphones will have a far greater impact on your visual quality. So these days, you know, iPhones are insane. You can actually just like be completely fine with your iPhone. The Osmo is great. Everyone's got an Osmo here, as you can see. And then if you really want to like put out high-level content, then you have your mirrorless cameras. But if you learn how to use these tools well, you can actually get really good quality even from an iPhone. The things that really matter are going to be, like I said, your lighting, your lenses, and your microphones. But just as a rule of thumb, I just wanted to touch on the space that we're in as consulting info, agency owners. When you're buying a camera, some things to look out for. Obviously, mirrorless cameras are pretty compact these days, but make sure it's a video camera first that can also shoot photos. Don't buy a photo camera that can shoot video, because it's going to miss out on a lot of these features that you need. Even now, I'm recording this, this recording could be well over an hour. So if that's the case, I don't want my camera to overheat. So that's why you want a video camera first. You want to flip out LCD screen. So a lot of us are going to be filming ourselves, so we want to be able to see ourselves. Full-size HDMI is crucial because Zoom calls, if you want to like use your camera and a teleprompter, whatever it is, you don't want to be fiddling around with those mini HDMIs. USB-C chargeable. We don't want our camera to die when we're recording client interviews, long-term recordings. We want to be able to plug it into a wall if necessary. And then number 4 is, I don't want to get too technical, but if you have the budget, always go for a full-frame image sensor. The camera is going to be a little bit more expensive. The lenses are way more expensive, but the quality is better. It's better in low light, and it's just all around a better camera. I personally use the A7S III, which is what Rudy and like all of us are shooting on right now. It's probably the best camera you can buy for video at the moment, besides the FX3, which is essentially the same camera, but it just has a different body. So one of those two is what I would recommend. And just quickly, let's talk about lenses and focal length. 24mm, just remember that number. 24mm is the only thing you really need to shoot on. You don't need to worry about any crazy lenses or anything like that. 24mm, think of it as the 1X on your iPhone. So if you're going to go buy a lens, I would recommend that. If you want to spend a little bit more, you can just get a 24-70, which covers you if you want to film, like right now I'm filming from the back of the room, so then 70mm will come in handy. I just want to quickly play this video just to kind of show you guys the difference. I have some reels that down focal length and zoom, because it's day 20 of helping you get better at content creation. On cameras, zoom is measured in millimeters, which is called focal length. On iPhones, you see 0.5, 1, 2x, and 5x lenses. Prime lenses have a fixed focal length. Zoom lenses have a variable focal length. Let's start with an extra wide lens. This is the 0.5 lens on your phone, or anywhere between 10 to 20 millimeters on a camera lens. This focal length is great for vlogging and to show off a wide space. Now 24mm is the equivalent to the 1x lens on your iPhone. Still considered a wide lens, but is a lot easier on the eyes with less distortion. It's great for talking videos like this. I'm filming on 24mm right now. Now if we go a little bit closer to 35mm, it's a bit more flattering, and this is the go-to focal length in movies as it looks the most cinematic. 50mm is the closest focal length to the human eye, something we're actually used to seeing a lot. And as a result, I actually don't use 50mm lenses that much, but it's also one of the cheapest lenses you can buy, so it's a great place to start. When we zoom into 70mm and above, we start to introduce background compression because the foreground and the background appear closer to each other. This isolates our subject more, creating a more cinematic and shallow depth of field look. So remember, the wider you go, the more distortion and stretched out your image will look. The closer you go, the more compressed and blurred out your background will look. Think about the scene you're shooting and choose the focal length that will best shape the story you're trying to tell. So basically that's why I recommend getting a 24-70, because then you can play around with all of those focal lengths that I just explained. And essentially, you're used to seeing it every single day on your iPhone. It goes from 0.5 all the way to 5x. All right, lighting and audio. Lighting is by far the most important for giving your videos a professional look. The first thing to remember is color temperature. The lower the number, the warmer the color, and the higher the number, the colder. the image is going to be. So if you buy a light for your home studio, any decent light, I'll be sharing with you guys on the WhatsApp after this a Notion doc that has all my recommendations of what you need to buy for your home studio and all these things. But basically, your light will have this reading. So you just want to be consistent with the number you choose on the light and the number you choose on your camera. And that's how you create a consistent look across your color grades, the filters you're using on your videos, your assets. Often what will happen is when you change your white balance or you leave your white balance on auto, you'll realize every single video looks a little bit different because the lighting conditions are changing. So if you can always be consistent with your white balance, you're gonna have a way more of a consistent image. So that's something to remember. It's very easy to, you guys are all busy, you have a lot of stuff going on. It's very easy to set up a quick home studio that you can just film whenever you want. You can just sit down and literally film 6, 7 talking videos in like an hour and then just send them off to your editor. And then like you're good to go, right? And having a dedicated setup to do this is gonna be so much more easier. That was like the biggest thing for me. I could just sit down and just film a bunch of videos and then I was like pretty much just good to go, right? And the types of lights you want, or optional, it's obviously optional, you don't need all of them, but there's key lights, hair lights, fill lights, and practical lights. So basically, when you're filming yourself, your key light is the most important one. It's the most powerful light you have, and you always want it at like slightly off center to a 45-degree angle to you, so you can create shadows on your face because it looks way more flattering to the human eye. And then you have a fill light. The point of a fill light is it's a much smaller light that pretty much like fills those shadows in, but not too much. So you still have that flattering look. And then the backlight or the hair light lights up the background. And you can kind of get creative here. You can use, just a lamp from IKEA, or you can use, red LED bars and stuff like that, which can create like different kind of looks in your background. So that's just the 3-point lighting setup. But the most important one is the key light. So as long as you have a key light and like some kind of lamp behind you, you're gonna be sweet. And the fill light is really optional. This is like my one at home. I'll kind of just quickly play this one to show you guys how I film. My videos, because it's day 16 of helping you get better at content creation. So this is my super simple setup at home. I film on my Sony a7S III with the Tamron 17-28 lens. I use a Portkeys 7-inch monitor. I'm using the DJI Mic 2. My key light is the Godox SL60W. And on the left here, I have another newer light, I believe, from Amazon. And behind my monitor, I have the Philips Hue light. So this is what it looks like in camera. After I finish filming, I'll copy the footage to my And this video, just to show you guys how important lighting is, this is how it looks before I turn my light on. Like that's literally what the image looks like. And then as soon as I turn it on, because it's day 26 of helping you get the whole image can just change by just having a good lighting setup. It makes a massive difference to how your videos look. For my key light, I use a Godox SL60W placed at a... So that's what I'd recommend. If you guys have any questions about that, you can obviously just have a chat with me after and we can talk about how you can set it up at home. Like I said, the key light is the most important one. Then you can get a fill light, and the background light can be anything that, anything. You probably already have lights at home that you can use. And lastly, audio equipment. It's the single easiest way to increase your content's perceived quality. Have you ever watched people's videos and you just don't know why you like it so much? Or like there's something, it just seems so professional. Most of the time, it's probably the audio. They've probably invested in high quality audio equipment, and your voice can actually do majority of the lifting of the piece of content. Like I have a shotgun microphone that's like $1,200, right? And most people wouldn't spend $1,200 on a microphone, but it's those small things that can make differences in your content, and especially when it comes to audio. So there's 3 types of microphones: dynamic, shotgun, and wireless. But at the bare minimum, all of you guys should get just a wireless microphone, the DJI Mic 2. I'm wearing one right now. It's like $200, gives you insane quality. You can be further from the camera. It works with your iPhone, works with your Osmo, works with your camera, laptop, Loom videos, recordings, all of it. So that's probably what I recommend. And then if you want to take it up in level, get one of these bad boys, which comes in super handy for Loom recordings, modules, Zoom calls. It's just fixed there and I can just like easily drag it and start speaking. So those are the two that I would recommend. And then let's get into the filming. So the basic rules of filming, first is composition. I'll just play this to give you guys some context. Video unless you're inside the safe zone. This is day 9 of helping you get better at content creation. Also, just to give you guys some context, I did a 30-day series. So all of these videos are from that series. And I actually watched this back last night and I was like, damn, I dropped some absolute sauce in this 30-day series. So this series, I had 2,000 followers when I started it. When I finished the series, I had 20,000. Wow. So it was like a 30-day sprint and it just went crazy viral.
Yeah, it's just a quick one.
Yeah.
Did you record all those in one day or like over like a week?
So how I did it was I recorded 7 videos before I started. And then I just started, I made an announcement. So then I was like, okay, now I have to do it because everyone on Instagram saw. And then what I found was the videos got better every week. So if I filmed all 30 in one go, I wouldn't have had opportunity to get better. So I think don't go more than 5 or 6 at a time, because what you'll realize is people will give you feedback and you'll also understand what's working and what's not working. So if you're going to do some kind of content sprint or series, I would probably do like 5 to 6 at a time and then you'll get better. Whereas if you did all 30, you have nowhere to go from there.
Just another quick one, sorry.
Yeah.
When you say get better, does it just mean like the visual look better, or do you change the topics as well depending on what people ask and all that stuff?
I think all of it. What I found that I changed some of the topics, but also I found that like every week I started feeling better talking to the camera. Because even though I'd been in the content space for 7 years, I was always behind the camera. I was never in front of it. So it was still like, when I recorded that first one, I was like, this is fucking hard. And then I realized every single week, like, okay, like I feel more confident, you know? This video did well, like you have a little bit more belief in what you're putting out there and it's actually helping people interested to working with you. So that gives you conviction and then you're gonna speak better on camera. So that's what I found. So the safe zone can make or break how your video performs. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube all have overlay buttons, captions, and likes that are placed directly over your video. If you place important text, faces, or visuals behind these areas, they get blocked and viewers may lose interest if they can't read or see something important. So here's how to stay safe. Keep your main subject, like a person's eyes, in the top third of the frame. Place captions just under the chin so they're not too low near the action buttons. Use the bottom third only for secondary text, icons, or any other extra details. This will make sure nothing important gets hidden and keeps viewers focused on the right parts of your video. So this safe zone template, you guys will have this in the WhatsApp group. But yeah, just overlay that over your content, send it to your editor, just to make sure he's framing, you know, it's like visually appealing and nothing's getting cut off. We already spoke about lighting, focal length, and exposure. So that's the basic rules. As long as you get those right for your content, 99% of the time you'll be sweet. And then we have A-roll and B-roll. So A-roll is essentially your main story or whatever it is you're trying to convey to your audience. So if it's your talking head, your voiceover, it's the kind of footage I always film first when I have a concept or idea in mind. B-roll is just going to support that. So some key tips for A-roll is like speak with energy, enthusiasm, use hand gestures, facial expressions, keep it concise for short form obviously. For YouTube, you can kind of go as you wish, but just clearly deliver your story, message, or transformation. We're going to get into like scripting and hooks and stuff like that, but as long as you can deliver on camera your main concept, that's the most important thing to remember with A-roll. Now, B-roll adds depth, emotion, and movement to your story, and it makes your content feel cinematic rather than static. Now, when you break down whatever content someone's putting out on social media, all it is A-roll and B-roll. They've just found super creative ways to put out the same thing, right? So B-roll, when people talk about storytelling and how to be better at telling stories, essentially it's just how to be better at B-roll. Because B-roll is what's gonna build that narrative in the content that you're producing. Yeah, so high quality B-roll is often the difference between great and average storytelling. This is the same shot, and I'm doing the same thing. But because it's shot from different angles at different focal lengths, right? You can see how one simple scene, like I think in the span of 6 seconds, you'll see all these clips, right? It makes one boring scene of me working at my desk so much more engaging. And all you have to do is film from 3 different angles at 3 different focal lengths. And that's literally it. That's all I do for B-roll, right? So those are just some things to remember when you're filming yourself. Have you covered all 3 focal lengths on your iPhone? And have you covered it from 3 different focal lengths? So I'll play this reel as well.
2-shot list for good-looking B-roll. You can literally film yourself doing anything and make it look good with this flow. Day 13 of helping you get better at content creation. First, get a mid-shot, zoom in a little with a focus on your subject. Then have an action shot. Zoom in even closer to capture details of the action. Then get a wide shot. Zoom out fully to show your environment and invite the viewer into your space. When you zoom out, especially with a wide-angle lens, you create a more authentic and immersive feeling for the viewer. When you zoom in with a tight lens, you compress the background, making your shots look more cinematic. So mix these 3 shots together with a change of pace in your cuts. This will make your video flow so much better. B-roll is super simple, don't overthink it. If you follow these steps, you'll always have a good sequence. It doesn't matter what you're filming.
So I want you guys to go home today and sit at your desk and film yourself from 3 different angles and put it together and just talk behind it, and you'll be shocked at what you produce. So bro.
Another question, sorry. I've tried to do B-roll before.
Yep.
Like, my workspace is freaking messy, and
Yeah.
I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with like books everywhere and like fucking my bottles and stuff everywhere. Like, where do you put your stuff? Firstly,
So I have it's not my bedroom. I have an office separate to my room, but if you saw my bedroom, it would be worse than what you're saying. But basically, if you can just make it like somewhat decent, like I'm sure you can just move stuff to the corner so your framing is okay just for that one angle, I think you'll be sweet. And you know what? I don't know what kind of brand image you want to portray online, but there's a beauty in even like having a messy room, if that's something you want to show off. Because I've seen, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a lot of like creators online now who are like embracing that kind of grind and hustle and just grinding in their room and like, you know, building from scratch, and they're going viral. So even if it's a messy room, it's how do you want to portray that messy room? And is that the kind of brand that you're trying to portray? As an agency owner, if you want to be more professional, more high-end, then of course, you probably have to do a bit of cleaning. But if not...
Also, probably just add in there,
yeah.
like I've taken some B-roll of me with clients, like when we go on site to do a landing page video or whatever, like me speaking with clients, me in like corporate office environments or whatever the case may be, which comes in handy when we run ads, because we're in our client's environment basically. So I think like depending on who your clients are, if you go to where they would be and you film B-roll there, that's good enough as well, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Ads and things like that, I'm saying more for ads and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so the same principles can apply, you know, outside of home, wherever you are. It's always literally the same. Like I was just in Bali, and I was with Barbie, and we were in a villa together, and I filmed exactly what I'd film at home. It doesn't matter where I am. I'm still filming the same angles. My mind's still working the same. Like even here, right? There's a wide angle. Then there's a close one there, right? And then he's got another angle. So I've got 3 angles on me right now, and I'm filming A-roll. So I kind of always perceive it the same way when I'm filming. And so that's what, you know, we're not trying to be filmmakers, but these are just some small things you can implement, and within a week or 2, you'll realize that you'll automatically just start thinking about these things, and it's going to make life so much easier for you, but also your editor when they're piecing together content for your personal brand. Now, I don't want to get too much into the editing side. Do any of you guys edit?
Yeah, I know.
CapCut.
CapCut.
Okay.
But editing company, so.
Oh, okay, cool.
Editing agency.
Sick. Anyone, do you guys have editors?
Yeah.
All right, sick. Okay, so this is a simple workflow that I follow for editing, which you guys can all implement super easy. I'll also drop a loom in the WhatsApp channel that you can watch, because it would kind of be too long to watch now. But basically, number one thing is file organization, right? If your file's organized, it's going to be so much easier for you to go and find something you filmed last year, but also for your editor to put together stuff. A simple workflow that I follow is Q1, 2, 3, 4, the month. Within each month, I have assets, audio, exports, footage. And then within footage, which is the main one that's going to have repeats, I'll just have the day of the month with whatever like the topic is. So for example, I went to Rudy's office the other day. it'll just be October. Within there, we'll have footage, and then I'll just have the 6th of October, visited Rudy's office, A-roll, B-roll. And like, that's literally it. So then when I'm putting together vlogs, social media content, whatever it is, it's always the same structure. The editing software recommendations, the 3 that I've used over my time has been DaVinci, CapCut, Premiere. I use DaVinci now primarily for everything. And I recommend if you want to learn, use DaVinci. Just get the free version, upgrade if you need to. I don't think you'll need to, but the free version's pretty good. Premiere's also really good. CapCut, like, okay, it's super easy to like use, but I don't know, I'm just not a fan. Like, there's such small things that you just can't do on it. Like, you can't really like create different timelines, which I think is just like a basic thing. So there's no, like, if you're doing it on mobile, it's great, but I would recommend like DaVinci, 100%. So when it comes to editing, you don't need to learn the whole software, which is where like the friction happens, especially with some of the clients I'm coaching at the moment. They get overwhelmed because they're like, this software just looks so overwhelming. But it's like, you literally need to know like 3 things to produce a good talking head video, right? So we're business owners, we're not trying to be filmmakers. You only need to know the tools that will give you the maximum output with minimal input. And when you really think about it, all it is, okay, that looks kind of complicated. but all it is, I don't know if I should play this, but I think it's pretty short. This is the wrong...
Stick around because it's day 24 of helping you get better at content creation. I showed you guys how I filmed these videos in day 16, so if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. First, I import the footage into DaVinci Resolve. For this specific series I'm doing, I already have the folders and timelines created and all organized, ready to go. I'll drag the head talking video into my timeline. The first thing I'll do is I'll apply my custom LUT, which I've saved as a power grade on DaVinci Resolve. Now I can see what I'm working with. Then I'll normalize my audio levels, and then I'll add my audio presets. Next, I'll cut up my A-roll. Essentially, any talking parts that I don't want to be in the video will be removed here. Next, I'll add in any B-roll or screen recordings that I need for the specific topic. For B-roll, I'll already have this ready to go, and I just need to drag it into my timeline, or I'll just copy and paste it from previous projects or timelines. Next, I'll add in a music. Again, for these videos, I'm not too fussed about the music. I'll just reuse music. I'll add the music, and then I'll reduce the volume. Next, I'll add any sound effects, and for these videos, I only cycle through a few sound effects, so I just copy and paste them from previous timelines. Lastly, I add my subtitles. Once it's done, I'll click the subtitle, I'll change the font to Helvetica, or change the size and the position of the font across all the text. Lastly, I'll add in and zoom outs to just make the talking parts more engaging. And that's pretty much it. I'll export the video and then it's
Pretty
ready
easy.
to go. It's like a week's worth of A-roll that I filmed in one session. So it's
It literally takes me like 10 minutes to make one of these videos.
How I edit these videos, then stick.
But what I'm saying is the first time it might take you an hour or 2, right? But I think it's worth running through a few times, because what you'll notice is you'll start to understand things about your style, right? You'll start to understand the kind of brand. Is that a question, bro? Yeah?
The question was about normalized audio and then your audio preset. What is that?
Yep. So normalizing audio levels is basically just a feature in DaVinci. I'm pretty sure CapCut Desktop has it as well. What you'll notice is when you're speaking, there'll be like sudden loud parts and then some really quiet parts, like in your tone. When you hit normalize audio, it just uses like an AI and it brings all the levels to a consistent like level. So even if there's like big pitches, low pitches, your audio sounds the same. The audio preset is just something that I do to enhance my audio, like EQ. It's EQ, which is just a preset. I can send you my preset. Like, I think in one of my videos, I actually dropped the preset as a lead magnet. But it's essentially like, I just go in and like change the EQ graph depending on what I want. It's completely not necessary at all. The audio sounds great just out of the mic. That's just like a personal thing.
So say like one thing that's been really, really handy for me and clients as well is Adobe Podcast AI.
Yep.
When your audio's quality is just not good, you can run any audio through, like almost any audio. Could be like you whispering across the other side of the room, and Adobe Podcast will fix the audio. It's like by far one of the best tools I've used. It's way better than the CapCut inbuilt one.
Yeah. Adobe Podcast is great. Like, that saved my life and Rudy's life so many times on client shoots when we just fucked up the audio. And then Adobe Podcast literally like saves us. Like, it just, I don't know what the AI does, but if you've ever had any like audio issues, just run it through Adobe Podcast and it produces some crazy results.
you can go back one slide, do you put your timeline in 24 FPS? Do you?
Yeah.
And so when you're recording in 4K, 24 frames, or do you record 30 for social media?
So basically, I always record in 25 FPS, and my timeline is 25 as well. But 24 is obviously the American standard. In Australia, it's 25. The only time I use 4K 30 is when I'm shooting on an iPhone. That is the only time. I didn't go too much into frame rates because it would get a little bit too technical, but basically, iPhone, I just find that 4K 30 produces a smoother results, and also Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, they take 30 FPS as the social media standard, so it produces really smooth results. But when I'm shooting on a camera, I find that 25 is much better. So the only time I'd recommend 4K 30 is like if you're shooting on your phone. Anything else, just keep it to 25, the film standard.
And then when you're recording in that FPS, are you recording 1080p or are you going to go 4K?
So I always record in 4K
And then when you export,
and always export in 1080p. Yeah. So basically what happens is social media channels, they compress your video. So if the video file is too large, so if it's like you export in 4K, it's a very large file, it compresses the video too much. So when it compresses it, you actually lose some quality when you see it on Instagram, right? So the best thing to do is shoot in 4K, edit in 4K, but export the video in 1080. So you're getting all the data you get from a 4K image, but in 1080p, Instagram still sees it as a 1080p clip. So that's why I always export in 1080p.
if your phone has 60 FPS,
Yep.
is that better to do that or just keep it at 30?
Keep it at 30. The only time you want to use 60 or 120 is for slow motion. So basically, FPS is frames per second, right? It's how many frames are in the image. So you have 25, you have 60, and then you have 100 and 120. The only time you want to use 60, 100, or 120 is if you're shooting B-roll, because you're never going to slow down your A-roll. So if you want to, have B-roll where, like, let's say you're working at your desk and you want to look super cinematic and dreamy and slow it down, or like gym training shots you can film in 50 or 60. So just as a rule of thumb, A-roll 24 to 30, B-roll 50 to 120. And that's all you need to remember.
What about for like YouTube long form? What would you do then? So this seems like it's more focused towards reels and like short form. What about long form videos in terms of using a wide shot?
Yeah, so essentially it's exactly the same thing. The settings, the frame rate, none of that changes.
Yep.
Like for YouTube, the only thing that's going to change is that your timeline is going to be landscape, not vertical. That's literally it.
Okay.
So I wouldn't change any settings or anything.
Export to 4K.
Yeah, with YouTube, you don't have to export at 1080.
Yep.
You can just keep it at 4K because they have a much larger compression rate.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say with short form, 1080p. With YouTube, just go 4K. But all the camera settings and all of that stays the exact same.
And when you record, it looks like your videos are mostly done for reels, but are you recording them landscape?
Yep.
And then just...
Yeah, I always record in landscape,
Yep.
so I can actually use it for YouTube. And then I just crop, so I'm framing myself in a way that like I can do for short form and long form. So always, most of us are going to be posting on YouTube as well. So always record all your content in landscape. Just be mindful of the vertical crop. So always place yourself in the middle, and turn your rule of thirds on whatever you're filming on, so you know exactly where you're going to be framed for YouTube, for Reels, and going forward, stuff like that. Yeah, so basically, then you can build in, for your editing SOP, if you've run through it a few times yourself, you'll be way clearer on the SOP you need to give to your editor. So when you edited it yourself, you'll kind of get a feel of, I know Liam uses a lot of green in his content, right? Like your brand color is green. So you might do some certain things in your workflow that you can just easily communicate with different editors, right? And that kind of will give you your own kind of like aesthetic and taste in a sense that you're not really letting someone else decide for you. So that's why it's a pretty simple process to run through yourself a few times, that then you can develop an SOP. You guys will have this template as well. But basically then you'll have a much better understanding on your fonts, your color grade, the kind of music you want to use. Like that's very important. The playlist you create for your editor, and then how you actually cut up your content. So that pretty much covers like the first part, which was all about, you know, production. And now we can get a little bit more into systems and strategy that I use. Any questions so far other than that?
With the recording, like it sounds like you're recording from the camera as opposed to like recording through the computer. Like because I've got a Blue Yeti, so if I'm trying to record off that using a software like QBS Studio,
Yep.
what's the pros and cons, if any?
Like for audio?
Yeah, well, recording and with having the audio connected to the microphone.
Yep.
Is there like any downside in doing it that way, or?
Not really. Like I've always just filmed on my camera first
Yeah.
because it's easier for me. I've always done that.
Yeah.
I think if you're recording on your computer, do you have much flexibility in terms of the settings, the frame rates, and things like that? I don't think so, right?
Well, on QBS, like you can change a lot of the frame rate, and I think like I'm not a expert at it, but
Yeah.
like I think it's like the encoding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it transmits.
As long as you have flexibility with the settings that you want, I don't think it matters too much.
Okay.
As long as you're getting the output file in a file that is in like an MP4 file that you can easily share to editors and you know, like whoever it is that works on your team.
Yeah.
In terms of how you record it, I would say it's very similar to like just a device that you're using, so it doesn't matter too much. I personally would always film on an external camera. I feel like I have a lot more control. The chances of that like shutting down during a recording would probably be not as much as like a computer. So just for redundancies and things like that, you know, dual SD card slots, because there's nothing worse than recording like a 40-minute YouTube video and just losing it at like 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
Like it just like puts you off. So I would probably recommend using an actual camera, but if that works for you, that's fine.
Yeah. And then are you using a teleprompter or you're just going off the cuff?
I'm going off the cuff. I have a teleprompter now, but I haven't used it yet. Teleprompters are great, honestly.
Yeah.
I've heard really good things about them, especially for like not just reading scripts, but also your coaching calls, your Zoom calls, you know, getting your cam link and like making that look super professional. Like when you get on Zoom and then someone's looking at like a 4K clip with color grade applied, it just signals like professionalism, sense of authority. So that's great. I would recommend getting a prompter, and obviously for the scripting and recording videos part. So far for all my content, I've just gone off the cuff, but I'm looking forward to using the prompter because I actually just bought one.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
On the same topic, do you say you say that all the stuff you say is off the cuff, but do you kind of rehearse it beforehand so you do it all in one go where you don't fuck up a word and then you start recording? Or?
No, I fuck up so much. Nah, but basically how I'd recommend it is if you're scripting your videos, right? We're going to get into scripting. The easiest way is to just read one sentence at a time. That's it.
And what?
Read one sentence at a time and then just cut it.
I do that with all my ads in VSL
Yeah.
as well. Just Google Doc, one sentence at a time.
I'm just gonna edit it saying.
I can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Harris, who's like does growth operating for me, like he hates me for it, but I will not film anything unless I do it all in one take. Yeah, but I'm terrible. I don't like the idea of like reading because
Yeah.
I lose my flow and momentum.
Yeah.
How do you remember what you're saying without the ums?
Yeah,
and ahs
like-
anyway?
Well, we're human, right? So naturally it's going to be there. I think it's just iterating and just doing it again and again and again. When
Yeah.
I first started content, if I watch back at that content, it was terrible. Like really, really bad. Even like Yash was saying, even my Zoom call recordings, like I lost a lot of my Zoom call recordings, but early on, I was just hopping on a laptop versus when I look at them now, I've got my DJI Osmo, like that, using that as my webcam, kind of like an L stand on my desk. So my Zoom calls look really good. Even now when I film content, it like just flows a lot better. I don't need to like rely as much on a script. It's more like get the hook, get the main body across, and then the final part. So it's like slowly with all this content stuff, I think you would probably agree. It's like you need to start
Yep.
working by doing the easy steps first, and then you get better and better and better. And then
100%. Like content, it's a long-term thing. It's never like a short-term. You're never going to figure it out at the start. You know, find out what's going to remove friction for you first. If iPhone is going to remove friction, start with your iPhone. Buy one light from Amazon, have your iPhone and one microphone and just start making some content. As time goes on, you know, if you put out your first, like second or third video and you get 100,000 views, how are you going to feel? You're probably going to go buy a camera the next day. You know what I mean? So just start small and then like be confident in what you're putting out, and you're obviously going to upgrade your gear. You're going to be more comfortable. You're going to talk about more topics. You're going to have more client interviews and all that. But if you try and put out like, say for example, what I'm putting out right now on your first video, you're going to feel so much more friction. So just keep it simple, start, and then you're going to get better. Even within 30 days, you'll see how much better, like how far you've come with content. I think, was there another one? Yeah.
Can you send us this presentation?
Yeah, 100%.
okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Can
Do
I-
you oh, sorry.
No. You're all good. You go first, and then I'll
Do you tend to film into like a dark room?
Yeah.
'Cause, like I've noticed that. Yeah.
So basically, that's just to do with my aesthetic. So what I covered in the first part, right? The colors that I've chosen and the kind of vibe that I give off in my brand,
Yeah.
I prefer to have it in a dark room with artificial lighting. And that just works for me, right? Because that's the kind of aesthetic that I'm building. That's why I said at the start, when you pick those colors and you kind of figure out your environment, you get a sense of what you're trying to like build with the aesthetic. If you're in a brighter room, right, and you use like more lighter colors and stuff like that, then that can create a unique look. So it's all about experimentation. Like I did a bit of experimentation, figured that this was the kind of style that I liked.
On that note, what happens if you start with like an aesthetic and then you realise that you don't like the look of it and you want to pivot? Like, wouldn't your whole feed look completely different?
I think it depends at what point you pivot. And even if you pivot, I think it's okay. Just like try not to pivot as much. Like, try and stick, like I've pivoted like a little bit, right? Then what I realized is like there is going to be times where I'm filming during the day. Like, so for example, when I was in Bali, all of the content was very bright and green, right? And it doesn't really go with my feed. But then what I've done is I've kind of built an aesthetic for daylight, and I've built an aesthetic for like darker environments. And over the time, like those two have kind of blended now. So, you know what I mean? Like stick to one for kind of a brighter scenario and stick to one for a darker scenario, and just like keep going with those. Rather than getting stressed about, oh, this one's in the day, so I can't post it. It's not like that. It's like 80% of the time, like try and stick to it, but have like, it's not that like important, like in the sense that it's not that crazy if you don't.
Yeah.
Like for example, this video I'm going to upload on my Instagram, it's more warm, so it's not going to suit my grade that much, but I know that like I can adapt it in a way. So yeah, it's not as deep as you think, but it's definitely going to help with your consistency over time.
Yeah, I was just going to add in, and then I'll
Yeah.
also ask you a question, but I was just going to add in, like, you mentioned 100,000, 200,000 views and how motivating that is, and also, like, that's great, but with B2B, what we need to understand is, like, 1,000 views has the same impact as, like, 100K to the general populace. Like, getting 2,000 to 3,000 views consistently on a YouTube channel where you're talking about like Google Ads for law firms, that's insanely valuable. Like super, super valuable. I think Jason, you can attest to that. Like you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I
at
do.
some
Yeah.
point.
It's only like 1.3k subscribers or something like that, and the first video I dropped ended up getting like 11k views on it, which is crazy. But like, yeah, I just talk about SEO. That's all I talk about, is SEO, and like running my business and like the struggles I went through, and you see comments of like regular viewers commenting, and it's really, really encouraging to just keep going, because people are actually checking and go, hey, how you have like good news on this and that, it's fantastic. It doesn't matter if a video gets 70 views or another one has like 150, like it just keeps you going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like you never know who your audience is going to you never know who your video is going to resonate with. Like this is a room of maybe about 20, 30 people. If you get 20, 30 views, you'd be like, all right, that video flops, that failed,
Yeah.
right? But then as you get better and better, and like, let's say YouTube indexes your content for your audience, that now getting 100 views and knowing that that's within the ballpark of who your ICP is super valuable, like super, super valuable, which should keep you going even if you don't see like direct, like let's say big numbers when you start. Yeah, even if you're like want to go super technical with your content, a lot of you said here that you guys are really technical, just go into it, because there'll be your ideal client waiting at the other end of that as well.
100%. And on that note, like the views, engagement, and all those metrics, right? It's great for obviously you know, building your brand and like getting the followers and everything. But that doesn't mean monetization. So at the same time, like even for my own brand, some of the videos that have gotten me the most clients have like 3,000 views, right? But I have videos with 900,000 views that got me 0 clients. So it doesn't, like Rudy said, it's good. You need audience growing content, which we're going to get into in the strategy section. But at the same time, especially in the B2B space, content for your ideal client is going to be much more beneficial, right? So it's kind of finding the right balance between the two. And eventually, if you keep putting in the reps, you're going to have a few videos take off. And that's what's really going to give you that kind of leverage that you're looking for.
I've got a question just based on going back to the profile, where changing your bio, changing.
Oh, yeah.
everything. How do you approach the situation where you've got a personal like IG account,
Yep.
but then you started like reliable leads, and then you're like, sweet, okay, I've got to put content on both.
Yep.
But you've also got to build a personal brand because people are going to check you out. So in that scenario, are you kind of making your personal brand or like your personal IG account with a bio saying, hey, I help real estate agents, sell more properties, and like put more real estate focused content? Or
Yep.
are you kind of also like putting your own personal stuff and like?
I would say your personal brand, it's essentially what it is, right? It's personal. So I wouldn't just put like the reliable like leads content. So you can obviously have your business specific content on that page. Your personal brand is pretty much your opportunity to speak about it as a founder. So it's through the lens of a founder. So, in your bio, you would have founder of reliable leads, and this is what you help people with. But it's also I would say it's your opportunity to be as human as possible, right? With your content. So you can post other things. And I know it's kind of like, it feels kind of wrong to do that, but I think that's what a personal brand is.
Because it's also like, maybe it's like a limiting belief, but it's also like the people that have been following you
Yep.
may not like be interested in real estate specific content.
Yep.
But is that just a limiting belief?
Yeah. I think that's fine, like, because you're not creating the content for those people. If they care enough, they'll stick around. And like, I'm going to get into like the concept of dream follower versus ICP. But like the way I see it is this like there's an analogy that I always refer to, right? With your personal brand. If you were to meet someone new for the first time, like let's say you're traveling and you run into someone, imagine if the only thing you spoke to them about for the next 6 months was leads. Like, what kind of connection would you have with that person?
Yeah.
If we wouldn't do that in person, why do we do it online?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing and that's how I kind of view my brand is like, yes, I can help people with my skill and my service, but at the same time, there's so many other factors that I like to show in my content that actually gets people drawn towards me and makes them want to work with me. And that's the whole concept of a dream follower.
I remember the first ever appointment setter that was my first ever sales team member. I remember when he came on board, the thing that he told me that got him interested in wanting to work with me is he said that he liked that I put on my story that I was skating along the beach with no shoes on, and just like, he thought I don't know, he just liked that. It was just like a really random thing.
Exactly.
That I was like, man, like that makes no sense. But that's what made it pay attention, which was like, I don't know. But
Yeah,
you're 100%
it's that same concept, right? Let's say there's someone else who has the same agency and same offer as you, right? And you're both putting out value content. You both have really good value content. Who am I choosing? Right? But if you post something outside of that I relate to, I'm choosing you.
Yeah.
And that's the concept that I kind of like want you guys to be across, which we will cover. So content system is basically, we're all very busy. We all, want to prioritize content, but it can't be the only thing that we prioritize. So we want to have a content system that's simple and we can create and follow to post consistently, and it's going to fit with our lifestyle and our content strategy. It's essentially a workflow that you can implement so you can be consistent. So basically, a few things to consider is, do you have time to edit, or are you going to be handing it off? Can you film every day? Is it sustainable for your schedule? And if not, how can you outsource it? So the key elements to a content system is basically your ideation process. So how do you actually come up with ideas? Now, Rudy spoke about stealing like an artist, but basically we're on Instagram every single day, right? We're seeing ideas, we're seeing other people. How can we take inspiration from other people and then add our own kind of spice to it and like make it unique in our own way? So that's the starting point to ideation. Like, let's be serious. You can go to ChatGPT and come up with ideas. Very rarely you're going to just have those moments of ideation. Like, if you do, great, 100%. But the easiest way is to brainstorm. You know, when you're scrolling, have a separate saved folder on your Instagram where you're constantly just saving ideas which you can refer to and repurpose in your own way. And that's the most important thing with ideation, is you're either coming up with it yourself, or you're inspired by someone else, or you're using AI or something like that to come up with your ideas. Another easy way to get ideas is just from your clients. So just ask your clients, like, why did you choose me? What do you like about my offer? What are your pain points? Sales calls. All of these are perfect opportunities to, come up with ideas. And then how can you batch all of these into content? So, like I said, explore the option of creating multiple pieces in one session. So if you have 6-7 ideas ready to go and you have scripts for them, literally just sit down and film them. Just film them like 6 to 7 in a row, and then worry about B-roll, worry about editing, all that stuff later. A-roll, once you have the A-roll done, half of the friction's gone, because delivering the message is the hardest part. So once you batch that process for 1 to 2 hours a week, you're going to notice that your content efficiency is going to go up so much, right? And then how can you execute the posting part? If you want to outsource your editing, like, you're making enough to hire a good editor, that's also great. So these are the key elements of a content system. So basically, one that worked really well for me, which I've been following, is, like I said, I ideate and script about 7 videos on a Saturday. And then on a Sunday, I would just film like 6 to 7 A-rolls. So then I know in my head, I'm like, oh, I have 7 A-rolls this week ready to go. I can just, obviously I'm a skilled editor, so I can put those together relatively quickly. But then now I also have editors. So I would just send them, like I sent my editor like 7 videos yesterday, and he'll probably have them ready in a few days. So then this week's sorted. You know what I mean? And like all it took was an hour for me to sit down and just deliver 7 concepts. And then the B-roll part is literally, that's the fun part, because I just film whatever I do during the week. I film myself going to the gym, when I go for a run. I, film myself going out with my girlfriend, when I'm with my mates. And these are all things that are going to build up my content library over time. And there'll be very certain instances where you have content-specific B-roll. So those are the ones that you just got to factor in. So is there specific looms? Is there specific like meeting notes you want to put over your videos? Or is there something you need to film for the video that you don't have? So that's where the B-roll kind of separates into 2. So you have the lifestyle, who you are as a person B-roll, and then you have your agency or topic-specific B-roll. So just factor in those 2. And this works really well for me. Like when I'm filming B-roll, I'm not even thinking. I'm just like I have my camera, I'm just filming. If it's something specific, like I'm mounting it to a specific point, then I get the 3 angles that we discussed earlier. But then like if me and Rudy go to the gym tonight, we'll just take the Osmo, we'll just film a bunch of stuff, and then I'll just keep adding that to my gym folder. So that's the kind of content system that works for me. Content really only takes up 2 days of my week, if that, and I still have the rest of the week to do other things. And that's the kind of place you want to be in.
I was going to ask, when you're recording B-roll, are you just carrying your Osmo everywhere kind of thing, or like would you use your iPhone? Or?
Yep. So iPhone and Osmo is like the go-to. Because I work in the content space, I use cameras.
Yeah.
But for 99% of people, iPhone and Osmo is perfect.
And do you just like swap your camera with a tripod in the gym and just do a few lifts and then pause and you go?
100%. Yeah. Like I have a mini tripod that I take with me. I have a magic arm, and I kind of just keep those in the gym bag. Most of the time, I'm also gymming with like my mates, so we kind of just film each other. Yeah, so that's all good. I'm like, bro, just film the set, You know what I mean?
That's pretty good though.
Yeah.
most people- that is so inconspicuous.
Yeah, the
Like,
Osmo
you
is
don't
so
notice
good.
you're filming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the best in camera you could buy for $1,000.
Yeah, right.
So, would highly recommend. I think the Osmo 4 is coming out in like 2-3 weeks though.
Oh,
So you might want to wait. You go on.
With your, because you now got an editor who does it all. Is that editor here onshore, offshore?
My editor's in India. I have 2 editors in India. Just works well for me. But the thing is, I'm also an editor, right? So it's very, whoever edits for me, I feel like it's pretty easy because I have looms on exactly what they need to do. So it doesn't really matter who edits my videos. I just found 2 editors who reached out to me, and it just like the budget and everything works. Are you asking because you're trying to find one, or?
I was wondering like, how much do you pay them per video?
Yep.
How many videos will they output per day?
So the standard rate for a good editor is like 35 USD per reel, and I would say that's the standard right now. If they're good, if you can get someone for like 15, that's hectic. But I would say anywhere between like 15 to 35 USD per reel is probably like seems to be the average. Some people, you might get lucky. You might find someone for like $5, $10, and if you can train them up, heck, like that's great. Ideally, you want to be in a position where when you hire an editor, right, they might not be the best in the first 10 reels, or YouTube the same. Also with YouTube, it's a little bit more expensive. Like you're looking more like between $100 to $1,000 per video, depending on the complexity. It can even go up to 5,000 if they're like really good. But yeah, $100 to $1,000 probably for YouTube. But yeah, train them up. Like, get them to know your brand, your business, your agency, the type of content you're putting out, the formats. And just because they're not good at the start, it doesn't mean they won't be good in like a month or 2, right? When you hire someone who's really good already, you're going to be paying more. So you'd much rather get someone who is affordable for what it is that you're trying to do, and then train them up, get them to know you, and then that's how you're going to have a much more efficiency, like with your editing team. But yeah, like usually 30. I have 2 editors. One guy's 35 per video, and the other guy's like, I think 18 or something. So yeah.
Liam, your videos like short form and ads to get it at the end. Do you get an editor for YouTube or not really because it's more Google Doc stuff?
I don't for YouTube because because YouTube is already higher friction to want to make it in the first place because it's more preparation.
Yeah.
And you're sitting down for longer. And then I'm usually just like too impatient. I just want to get the video out as well.
Yeah.
So I like doing just like one take of the dome, just talking YouTube videos. But if I'm gonna do a VSL, more highly edited, ads, more highly edited. If I was gonna do like a key YouTube video that, because like one strategy that people like Eman Gazi talk about is instead of having like a main call to action in your YouTube videos, being book a call, buy this thing, whatever, have your main CTA be watch this next video, and this next video is like a key video sales letter for your offer. So then it's like a very native call to action to the platform, and that's like the pop-up suggested video.
Yeah.
So that's a very congruent CTA, and that core video sales letter you want to put more effort into. So for me, that was like my story video right now.
Yeah.
On my YouTube channel. But yeah, that could also be a bit stuff.
And that's the one, you put effort in editing.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's content systems. Find a system that works for you and your team. And like I said, always strive for maximum output with minimal input. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just understand the basics, what's going to work well for you now, and then derive maximum output always from that.
Do you do a first round edit yourself to get rid of all, like, if you say the thing twice because you missaid it, or do you just trust your editor to kind of go through the video and know what to cut out?
So I trust my editor now because I've kind of communicated with him exactly the flow. And then obviously we use Frame.io for revisions. So basically, he'll send me the video on Frame.io, and then I can leave comments just like you do on Dropbox or whatever, Google Docs, and then he just goes in and makes those changes. But most of the time, he knows like what I'm trying to say in the video, and he'll cut it up. If you feel like your editor doesn't know, or like say your video is really long, then just send him your script or whatever you use to record it, and then just be like, bro, this is what I'm actually trying to say. Can you cut out all the fluff if needed? And that's kind of where the SOP is going to come in handy that you can give to him. But yeah, really like obviously you need a revision process if you're having an editor. So Frame.io is great for that.
Yeah. 'Cause what I do is I just like record a video, put it into a software and do it at 2 times speed, and I'll just go through it fast and just kind of cut it up.
Yeah.
And just cut the bits out, so then I know it's.
Also, and then you give it to them.
Well, I'm doing it most of the
Oh,
time.
okay, yeah,
It's
yep.
pretty raw. It's usually just like a screenshot file of like my face and a Google Ads account going through it, but I'm
Yeah.
looking to go more into this. But sometimes I just don't know if I can trust someone to actually have that level of attention to detail.
Yeah.
To pick out those things, because like they don't understand as much as you do, or I do at least.
Yeah. So I think your best friend is going to be like just the ability to train them up through like Loom recordings, and like if you can really communicate with them like this is the workflow and this is the SOP, they're going to eventually like get around to it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd recommend. All right, and just basically when you're creating your videos, a good rule of thumb is obviously like a good hook. You've probably heard it 100 times. Focus on the hook because often that's the most important, talking in visual. When you're giving value, which most of us are as business owners, is it some kind of actionable value that they can implement in 24 hours? It often makes it enticing and can increases your chances of the creative doing well. And ask yourself, would you pay $5 for it? That's often a good like rule of thumb. If you would pay $5 for what you said in the video, chances are they would too. Yeah, even if your video goes viral and does well, people won't follow you. The goal is to go viral and get a ton of people to follow you so you can eventually sell to them. Scripting, so basic format that I use, and all my chat GPT and everything is programmed to this from my 30-day series. I always start with a hook to capture your attention, and then value, I explain the value straight after. Then I have a story to validate it. So this can be either personal experience that you actually have done the thing, or evidence. You can actually interchange these depending on the type of video you're doing. Sometimes the story can come before the value because you need to explain the fact that you actually have knowledge in this field. So you might say, I made $100,000 this month by doing and this is what I did. So it really depends where you want to put the evidence in, but hook, value, story. And then at the end, you just want to reiterate the fact that if they do this, they can achieve this too. And then end with a CTA if optional CTA. CTA is not necessary in every video, obviously, but if you want to like sell something or get them to take an action, then this is kind of like what I follow. And I keep it super simple. Like this is what all my value videos are. In the Notion that you guys will get, you have my exact GPT prompt that I use. So you can just copy paste it and then just put in your ideas and it will spit it out in this format. Okay, so with viral content, basically it's what we just discussed. It's metrics, creation, emotion, and bringing it all together. Always, shares are the most important things, especially when it comes to organic content, is the more shares your content gets, the better it's going to do. It's going to increase watch time, it's going to increase comments, the algorithm's going to push your content. Creation, what we discussed, audio is important, video, and then editing, bringing these two together. Oh, and emotion. So emotion's a big one. So having good audio and music, cutting your content to beat drops, it makes the viewer, like one of our friends Nish is really good at this. Like his content does really well because the music is like just really dialed. So if you can start to notice like the kind of music you're using in your content, the beat drops and things like this, it can actually like subconsciously make people watch your video, which is just some things to remember. Inspire people through your craft, show off your skills and your knowledge, speak with conviction. Like you're all very knowledgeable people, you've done the thing, you've gotten the results, right? Just portray that on camera, and that's really important, right? Show off great visuals in your content. All of us travel, I'm sure we have like great shots and clips, show that through your personal brand, and stir up some controversy if you can. It can always help. It always helps with getting more engagement. And the secret sauce is if you can combine a video that conveys insane emotion with good quality and it boosts those metrics we just talked about, you'll have a winner. Okay, the last part I want to cover is just positioning and strategy. Basically, we've covered everything now from producing the actual content, making it look good, and then having a system to execute it. Now it's all about positioning and strategy. So when you're building your personal brand, basically there's two types of brands. Group A, where most of us start, is we post value content, right? Most of the time it's for our ideal client, but what happens is when you only focus on this, you actually end up being very similar to everyone else. But if you can, like we spoke about before, show a little bit more of your personality, be a little bit more authentic, as you mentioned earlier today. Being authentic makes content so much easier. You build a personal brand, and that's what we want to do. How can someone feel like we're standing right in front of them online? That's what you want to think about. So build your brand around you, like not your business, as to what you're saying before. That's what I would recommend. And the way we do this is how we brand ourselves. So when you brand yourself first, that you can then build your content strategy easily. So actually Rudy's been doing this really well in his like vlogs and everything, where you know, he is an agency owner and he's obviously, you know, running all these offers and doing all these crazy things, but in the content, he's showing another side to his life and his personality, which makes people engaged in what it is he does, and that's the goal, right? So it's positioning your brand, and the main 4 pillars to remember is your beliefs, which are what's going to make you a one of one, your values, how you see the world, and what's your story. Like your journey and your story is what's going to, no one can replicate that. Like only you have that journey. That's what makes you a one of one. Your style is everything we just covered. How does your content look so you stand out? And your mission is what are you building or working towards, and what's your vision? This is what's going to make you worth following, because they buy into your mission and your vision for what it is you're trying to build. We all have a vision for our businesses that we have, right? We're all trying to make an impact. So share that in your content and make it aware to people that this is what we're trying to do, right? And then what is your unique mechanism? How do you actually make money, your offer? So this is all about monetization. So this is how you should brand yourself, and your content should be a reflection of this.
Can I just add in as well?
Yeah.
When I was saying earlier as well, like the framing starts in the creative, like with ads and stuff like that. With organic content, you have such a good opportunity to also share what you're against, to kind of vet out people that you never want to work with anyway. So like one thing that I was doing when I was making content for lawyers was saying like, lawyers that don't believe in marketing will never achieve X, or lawyers that don't believe in investing in X, Y, Z will never achieve X, Y, Z result. So it's like immediately saying what I stand against, and then cutting out, anytime there's a lawyer that would be like, oh, I don't believe that, or I don't agree with that, that's not my ideal client anyway. So it's like just using that to also attract like the right types of people, basically.
Yeah, 100%. So this is, again, like what we covered. I just want to quickly touch on Dream Follower and ICP. So basically, right, your dream follower, they don't just like your content, they want to become a version of the person you represent. You know, have you ever come across, you know, we see this all the time with celebrities or like sports people that we follow and admire, right? But we always come across people's Instagrams that we're like, we follow, but we don't know why we follow them. But there's something that we see in them that we want to become. And that is who your dream follower is, right? And if you can become that person to somebody else, that's what gets you the buy-in from them, right? And then you have your ideal client. And all your ideal client is, when you're doing this correctly, is it's a subsection of your dream followers who are problem aware and they need help. Because if your marketing is dialed, your ideal client is going to come from your dream follower. They're going to have the same values, beliefs, morals as you, right? Often you look at people in the info space, someone who's, you know, in their marketing, if they have like Lamborghinis and Rolexes and, you know, all this stuff, if you look at their clientele, they'll be very similar, right? But if you look at someone who has a lot of money, but in their marketing, they don't show it, they show more emotion, family and stuff like that, then you look at their community, you'll see that the people in there are all just wearing black t-shirts. They're all just like, more family orientated. They value different things. And that's because their dream follower is different. And everyone has a different set of dream followers, right? So that's who you want to attract in your marketing. And if you attract your total addressable market towards your dream follower, you're going to find your ICP within there. And you need to find the right balance between creating content for your dream follower and creating content for your ICP, which is how you build your content strategy. So content strategy is essentially what type of content you're capable of producing to make you grow. So we all know about top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. But basically, the way I like to look at it is audience building, brand building, and client building. So top of funnel content is the content that we create primarily for our dream follower, because it's such a wide pool of people that we can bring into our world and bring into our brand with our values and beliefs, right? And this content isn't meant to sell, it's meant to stop the scroll. And then you have brand building videos, which are designed to position you as an expert. So that's middle of the funnel. So this is where you create your content for your ICP, you make them problem and solution aware. And client building is simply just content that lets them know about your offer and, encourages them to take action. So this is the kind of content you want to have in your strategy, and you want to find the perfect split between the two. I used to think about content pillars and be like, you want content pillar about this. I've actually kind of changed my philosophy on that, and now I just think about it in two ways: authentic and authority. Authentic, just think about you as a person, right? And just make authentic content about the things you believe in and the things you're doing in your life, and then have authority content to make content about what you're good at and how you can help someone solve a problem. And if you can look at audience building content, brand building content, and client building content from an authentic and authority lens, and couple that with everything else we just spoke about, you're going to have great results with your content. And we can get a lot deeper into this. I'm touching on it at a super high level. So if you guys have any questions about this, we'll speak after, or send me a DM on Instagram. I'd be more than happy to answer the questions. But essentially, this is where your content strategy sits and your themes. Lastly is content formats. How do you actually package everything that we spoke about and put it out into the world? So these are content formats that I'm testing at the moment, and a lot of other people are testing. But basically, talking head is going to be your go-to, the easiest to make. POV, day in the life, they're pretty easy videos to make. And then, you have client interviews, podcasts, mirror board videos. They signal a little bit more authority. These aren't the only formats, there's other formats, but formats is just how you package your content. So once you have your system, your strategy, and your positioning dialed, you package it and you put it out on social channels, YouTube, whatever it is. Your content strategy will and should change depending on your goals. So the easiest way to think about a content strategy is, what problem are you solving for? Whether that be organic or whether that be ads. If you have low views, you essentially want to focus on audience building. If you have low engagement, focus on middle of funnel, because you want to be more relatable and make people more problem and solution aware. And lastly, low sales just means you need more CTAs. You need more people wanting to take an action. So if you optimize your content for the problem that you're facing, it's the easiest way to have maximum impact, with the kind of content that you're putting out. And as a rule of thumb, just to finish on, you want your content to inspire, entertain, and educate always. So when you create a piece of content, ask yourself this: does this piece of content inspire, educate, or entertain someone? Then you've done your job well. I'll be sharing this with you guys so you have a notion, just kind of highlighting everything that we spoke about in a little bit more detail. So this is how I would approach content as an agency owner going into 2026. We know the importance of content and personal branding, and I covered a lot of things today, but when you zoom out and look at it, essentially what it was the gear that we're using to create, how we're actually creating it, how we're filming, how we're editing, how we're being efficient with what we're doing, and then how we're positioning ourselves in the market, how we're putting that content out there and packaging it with a strategy that's going to work for the problem that we have with our business or our brand. So that's me, guys. If you're interested in working with me, obviously I run a done with you and a done for you content offer where we can dial in your content and your personal brand. Just come and speak to me after and we can chat about what that would look like. But thanks for that, and then we'll jump into a Q&A. I hope you guys found that valuable.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.